hell are you? Jennifer Walters, attorney at law.
There are a lot of Marvel Comics superheroes who are also lawyers. Everyone knows Daredevil, the blind acrobat who fights criminals on the streets at night and battles them in the courtroom during the day as his alter ego Matt Murdock. Then there's She-Hulk, the tall, green, and stunning cousin of the original Hulk, who is as powerful with her legal knowledge as she is with her super strength. And let's not forget about the time in the She-Hulk TV series when she and Daredevil got together for a debriefing, if you know what I mean. But those lawyers are just in the comic books. In the real world, Marvel actually spends a lot of their time fighting lawsuits, not supervillains. In fact, in some of the most famous and shocking cases, Marvel battled the Avengers, Blade, Deadpool, DC Comics, and even themselves. Let's turn the page and read about 4 epic Marvel superhero court battles. Number 4, Marvel vs. Blade. In 1998, action star Wesley Snipes put comic book movies on the map in a big way, playing the badass, sunglass-wearing martial arts vampire slayer named Blade. It was based on the comic book character created by Marv Wolfman in 1973 in the comic Tomb of Dracula. The movie was a huge hit, making almost $150 million and spawning 2 sequels. The same year it was released, Marv Wolfman sued Marvel Comics because they were making tons of money off the character he created 25 years earlier. The legal battle went on for 2 years, with Wolfman claiming that Marvel owed him money for making movies with his character. Marvel argued that he was a freelancer doing work for hire at the company and therefore the character belonged to Marvel alone. Unlike his badass vampire slayer character, Wolfman was not successful in his fight against Marvel, with the court finding that Marvel was the owner of the character. Wolfman lost his case and he never worked for Marvel again. Number 3, Deadpool and Wolverine versus a chick flick? Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds, is a box office star and the husband of actress-producer Blake Lively. And the lawsuit that got Deadpool dragged into court wasn't about rights or profits. It was because a co-star of Blake Lively's accused Reynolds of making fun of him in the billion-dollar release Deadpool and Wolverine. The other movie was called It Ends With Us, a romantic drama starring Blake Lively and directed by co-star Justin Baldoni. Now, there were well-publicized feuds between the two, with Baldoni claiming that Blake Lively seized control of the film away from him and manipulated the media against him. And here's where it gets really crazy. He accused Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, of creating the character Nicepool in the Deadpool movie to make fun of him and publicly discredit him. In fact, Baldoni literally sent Marvel and Disney a letter telling them to preserve any and all documents reflecting a deliberate attempt to mock, harass, ridicule, intimidate, or bully Baldoni through the character of Nicepool. A judge eventually dismissed Baldoni's suit against Lively, Reynolds, Marvel, and Disney, leaving Baldoni empty-handed. He could have just been happy he made a movie that made $350 million, but he was probably a little jealous that Reynolds broke $1.3 billion for Deadpool and Wolverine. The winner there is pretty clear. Number 2, Marvel vs. the Avengers. When Iron Man premiered in 2008, no one could have predicted that he and his fellow Avengers would eventually star in 2 of the 3 highest-grossing movies of all time, both earning over $2 billion. That's why it's crazy that Marvel had to battle the Avengers in the courtroom. Well, sort of. Marvel's battle was against the estate of Jack Kirby, the beloved and prolific artist who co-created some of the most important superheroes of all time. To name just a few, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Nick Fury, and Thor. So basically, all the Avengers. The Kirby estate tried to win back the rights to the characters Jack had created in the 1940s and 1950s. How did Marvel react? Well, they sued Kirby and other Marvel creators in order to keep the characters to themselves. In the end, the case never made it to trial, with Marvel and the Kirby estate coming to a settlement out of court. The terms of the settlement were never publicly revealed, but here's hoping the family of the man who created the most popular superheroes of all time received some financial reward for all his hard work. And finally, number 1, Marvel vs. DC vs. Marvel. If you've ever seen the movie Shazam starring Zachary Levi, you might think his character's name is Shazam, but actually it's Captain Marvel. And what's strange is, the movie wasn't put out by Marvel Comics. The character of Captain Marvel is actually owned by DC Comics. So how did that happen? How did Marvel's biggest comic book rival come to own a character named after them? Well, buckle up, it's a crazy explanation. Captain Marvel was created in 1939, 25 years before Marvel Comics existed. But DC Comics did exist, and they didn't like that Captain Marvel was ripping off the abilities of their flagship character, Superman. So DC Comics sued Fawcett Comics, the creators of Captain Marvel, saying he stole the idea of Superman. The court found on the side of DC Comics, and Fawcett Comics was forced to stop from ever publishing a Captain Marvel story ever again. Then, in a crazy turn of events, DC Comics decided to get the rights to Captain Marvel and start creating new stories about him in the early 1970s. So the character that DC said was ripping off Superman was now starring in comic books right alongside him. But something else happened too. By the early 1970s, Marvel Comics now existed, and they owned the rights to the name Marvel. So when DC started publishing stories about Captain Marvel, they were told by Marvel Comics that they absolutely could not name the comic book Captain Marvel. The character could have that name legally, but Marvel Comics told them that they could not use the name Marvel in the title of a comic book. That's when they started publishing it under the name Shazam, named after the word that Captain Marvel says in order to use his powers. Then, a few years later, Marvel Comics created their own character named Captain Marvel, a powerful female character who also became a popular figure in current Marvel movies. Confused yet? Well, so were audiences in 2019. That was the year that there was a Shazam movie from DC Comics starring a guy named Captain Marvel who couldn't use that name, and a Captain Marvel movie from Marvel Comics starring a woman named Captain Marvel who could use that name. And then they both got a sequel in 2023 and confused everyone all over again. If it all sounds like one gigantic, confusing battle, congratulations. Now you know what it feels like to be a comic book superhero.